This is the only way I can save Earth. The only way I can save you.
If that's the only way, I don't want to be saved.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for those most emotionally heart-wrenching moments from the Rick and Morty universe. Beware, major spoilers lie ahead.
The point is, happiness always ends.
Number 30, Rickbots Death and Rick's monologue. Alas, poor Rickbot. We knew him, but tragically not for very long. This version of Rick Sanchez, now with 22% more empathy, was put in place by Rick C-137, while the latter was off in pursuit of Rick Prime.
You had one job. Hey, that job was to be a good grandpa. I go where the kid goes.
Don't touch me! How long have I... You said you weren't a robot!
It killed me to lie to you, Morty, but it would have literally killed me not to lie to you.
This doesn't make his demise in Rictional Mortpoon's Rick Mismorcation any less of a bummer, particularly since it feels so sincere. Additionally, Rickbot's mentioning that any good he does is essentially performed in the service of Rick C-137 really hits home. Meanwhile, the closing monologue suggests that Season 7 will finally see Rick and Morty closing the gap between C-137 and Prime.
Welcome to my darkness. I spent my life hunting this guy, Morty. This is the closest I've ever been to catching Rick Prime. It's impossible.
Number 29, the final trap room. There's nothing like a classic bait and switch to manipulate and control those emotional puppet strings, right? The climax of this third season episode, Vindicators 3, The Return of World Ender, initially leads us to believe that the final puzzle trap solution is Morty.
It could be Morty.
What?
Hey, I don't know. I mean, look, when I get drunk, I get stupid and emotional, and there's no logic to it. It's possible I got so drunk, I felt like I was losing Morty to the Vindicators.
This is because the question demands to know which aspect of the Vindicators is truly valued by Rick. Unfortunately, the correct answer is actually Noob Noob, a humble janitor whom we met earlier in the episode.
You're probably confused because we barely know each other, but you really stuck your neck out when you gave me props for my awesome jokes in the briefing room. Everybody else had their heads so far up their ass, even my own grandson is like, oh, the Vindicators is so cool. I mean, he's a moron, that's their demographic. But you're different, Noob Noob.
Granted, this whole setup could have been just because Rick was extremely drunk when he set up the trap, but yeah, we wouldn't put anything past Sanchez. Number 28, Morty is assaulted. This debut season of Rick and Morty proved that anything was on the table in terms of content, including some really disturbing implications.
I accept your call to adventure, good sir, kind sir. Come on, Rick, there's a giant in the clouds.
Yeah, beginner's luck.
One of the two plots within this episode concerns Morty taking Rick on an adventure of his own choosing, one that leads to a traditional RPG-esque fantasy world. A whole lot of tragedy ensues, from a giant's family witnessing the horrible demise of their patriarch to a local jelly bean king assaulting Morty in a restroom. It's troubling stuff to be sure, but at least Rick eliminates King Jellybean before he departs from this failed adventure.
Rick, portal, hurry.
Number 27, Rick puts Jerry on blast. The subject of Beth and Jerry's broken marriage has been explored in multiple episodes throughout Rick and Morty. It also didn't take long for Rick to put Jerry on blast for his behavior.
There are some major issues between you and Beth that have been there since you guys met. Hey, to new beginnings.
To the whirly-durly.
The whirly-durly? All right, what's going on here? When did you get cool?
This can be seen within a wicked monologue from the third season episode, The Whirly-Durly Conspiracy. Jerry's loneliness feels palpable after his separation from Beth. Yet, it's during an adventure alongside Rick where the former conspires to kill the man that Jerry feels stole his life. This later omission causes Rick to fly off the proverbial rails, spouting a diatribe that even causes the snake thing eating Jerry to momentarily stop and react to the insult.
You act like prey, but you're a predator. You use pity to lure in your victims. It's how you survive.
Number 26, shouldering Jerry's burden. Never underestimate the shadows of the mind, of how sometimes the most frightening things lie just beyond our rational sight.
This is a cool car. I like having fun. That's what I'm talking about. Keep it moving. Don't ask why I can talk.
We never see what Rick and Jerry see after the former scans the mind of a talking cat to find out why this feline can speak. What the audience is made aware of is that the reasoning is apparently so horrible that it drives both Rick and Jerry to the brink of madness. The latter even physically vomits from the experience, and Rick uncharacteristically assists Jerry by wiping his mind from what just occurred, leaving Sanchez to shoulder the burden.
Did we crash? Where's the cat?
He ran away.
Did you scan his brain?
Yeah,
Did you find out why he can talk?
he's from outer space.
Number 25, Rick's rejection by Birdperson. There's a lot to emotionally unpack within the 5th season episode, Ricketernal Friendshine of the Spotless Mort.
Suggestion. Conscious mind relocated to...
Unconscious mind. Fine, I'm going in.
Suggestion. Don't go in.
On one hand, we're glad to see Birdperson again, as Rick moves within his friend's mind to bring him back in the best friend rejuvenation sequence. We also see a lot of Rick's traumatic, repressed memories, including a battle he'd previously fought alongside Birdperson. Rick's pleas for more adventures with Birdperson are denied, with the latter taking a lot of umbrage at the fact that Rick held back information about Birdperson's daughter.
You did not know of the child when you came to rescue me, and once aware, refrained from sharing until necessary to save yourself.
Fair enough.
I will see you when I see you.
This one is just a sad episode all around. Number 24, The Fear Hole. The death of Rick Prime didn't serve as the finale to Rick and Morty's 7th season. Instead, we ended that journey upon perhaps an even more dark and depressing existential hell.
Well, it's definitely a hole. They weren't lying about that.
Fear No Mort was a Twilight Zone-inspired episode that featured the Fear Hole, a place where Morty's greatest terrors come to life. This episode is chock full of false endings. It isn't until Morty confronts his fear of abandonment that he's able to escape from the Fear Hole, realizing that Rick never followed him in the first place. However, we do see Rick pull a picture of Morty from his wallet to hang on the wall, which is a very telling sign.
Okay, buddy. Let's go slam some pancakes.
Number 23, Saving Marta. We're always pleasantly surprised when Rick Sanchez carefully allows his guard to drop, just enough to do something truly nice for another individual.
Who is that?
Her video game name is Marta.
Okay, see, this I can work with.
The episode, Rick, a Mort Well-Lived, features a callback to the 2nd season episode, Morty Night Run, specifically a visit to the Interstellar Arcade, Blips and Chits. Rick and Morty become trapped inside of Roy, a Life Well-Lived, as Summer is tasked by Rick to do a Die Hard. Meanwhile, the decades of time spent within the game influence Rick's decision to keep it permanently plugged in after their escape.
Special order. Some rich douche wants his last game to keep running. Hooked it up to an external battery, we're just supposed to store it.
Weird.
Yeah, and get this. The game's still going, but Roy's dead.
What?
Yeah, he's just a corpse floating at the edge out of space, but for some reason the game won't restart because it's centered on some old lady living a full life.
This is so that one of the NPCs, Marta, can live on within this imaginary world. Number 22, Pissmaster's Demise. Numerous oddly named supervillains have come for Rick Sanchez, but Pissmaster has to be one of the grossest and most profane.
Rick, why is there a man shooting piss on our front lawn?
I'm sure he'll tell you.
I am Pissmaster, here to flush the toilet. That is Rick Sanchez.
Not to mention easily beatable, apparently, since it's Jerry who beats the tar out of this bad guy, basically in front of the entire neighborhood. This incident leads to Pissmaster deciding to take his own life, leaving behind a daughter as well as a note that drives Rick into action. Sanchez decides to moonlight as Pissmaster, attempting to change the narrative of his legacy.
Yo, Pissmaster, you saving that cat to make people forget you suck?
Nope, just saving it to save it.
Number 21, This Revenge Has Meant Nothing. It's a conversation that always comes up when it comes to journeys of revenge. Will success change anything? Bring somebody back? Or make the person seeking revenge feel whole or fulfilled?
Morty, you can't come! Evil Morty, stay out of my way! Gonna kill my nemesis! Rick out!
Perhaps this is why the episode, where Rick C-137 finally destroys Rick Prime, is placed smack dab in the center of the 7th season. A proper revenge character arc would predictably have made unmort Rick in the series finale, but we're still a long way from that point.
Original grandson. This is super weird. Obviously, we're both trying to kill each other.
Oh, geez. Nice to meet you, I guess.
So, should I just get this over with, or?
Instead, we have to face the fact that Rick's revenge, essentially, changes nothing. Evil Morty's backstory is revealed here, and we do receive a somewhat satisfying Rick Prime beatdown, but ultimately, Rick and Morty soldier on, unchanged. Number 20, Wuba Dub Dub Origins. Rick tries out several catchphrases during the show, but the one that's most prevalent is the seemingly nonsensical Wubba Dub Dub.
Wubba Dub Dubs! Yeah! That's my new thing. I'm kind of like, what's his name? Arsenio. That's what Arsenio used to say on his show.
He often delivers it after a joke or to punctuate a moment. When Morty, Summer, and Rick throw a party, Rick says the phrase while doing drugs. After the party, Rick's buddy, Birdperson, explains to Morty that Wuba Dub Dub in his people's language means that Rick is saying he's in terrible pain and asking for help.
It's not nonsense at all. In my people's tongue, it means, I am in great pain. Please help me.
Well, I got news for you. He's saying it ironically.
Although Rick does some bonding with his grandkids that makes him less prone to using the phrase, it's still sad that he feels the need to numb himself to escape his own anguish.
Your grandfather is indeed in very deep pain. That is why he must numb himself.
Number 19, Snowball trying to save Morty. While Rick and Morty have an adventure in the latter's math teacher's dreams, the rest of the family must contend with their dog, Snuffles, who becomes hyper-intelligent.
That's an intense line of questioning, Snuffles.
Do not call me that. Snuffles was my slave name. You shall now call me Snowball, because my fur is pretty and white.
Renaming himself Snowball, the dog creates a society of intelligent dogs as well as mechanized suits. Rick and Morty return, and while Morty is well treated, the rest of the world isn't so lucky.
From now on, you will be my best friend and live by my side.
Thanks, Snuffles!
In order to gain Snowball's sympathy, Ricky gives Morty a pill that shuts down his kidneys. This deeply affects Snowball, who can't stand to see the human he loves in such a state.
To hell with my kingdom, Bean Counter. I would trade it all for my human's health and happiness.
Do you think they would have done this for us?
We are not them. We are not them.
Most pet owners experience something similar at some point, so it's tragic to see the shoe on the other paw, so to speak, even if it's just a dream. Number 18, Morty kills Fart. When Rick sells a gun to an assassin, Morty takes it upon himself to rescue the killer's target, a gaseous creature. Given the derogatory nickname Fart by Rick, the being proves fanciful and fond of musical interludes.
The worlds can be one together, cosmos without hatred.
However, just as Fart is about to return to his own kind through a portal, he reveals to Morty that he intends to return and exterminate all carbon-based life in Morty's universe. Morty asks for one last song, and then uses the distraction to shoot Fart with a special gun.
Morty, why? Why?
Goodbye.
Although the death of a mass murderer isn't particularly sad, our hearts go out to Morty, as this is the first time he takes a life. In a way, Morty has killed his innocence.
Morty, I know I picked on your core beliefs and decision-making a lot today, but I am glad that you insisted on getting that fart home. You know, at least all the death and destruction wasn't for nothing, you know?
Number 17, Rick's car conjures up the dead. Car trouble is exponentially upsetting in the Rick and Morty multiverse.
Looks like something's wrong with the microverse battery. We're gonna have to go inside. Go inside what? The battery, Morty.
While Rick and Morty investigate a problem inside the battery, Rick charges his car's AI to keep Summer safe. Rick's car does this through ruthless and incredibly violent methods. When the police arrive, Summer demands it stop hurting people. Instead, it arguably does something worse. After scanning the histories of each of the cops, the car synthesizes one cop's deceased son, forcing the creation to ask his father to leave the car alone, before dissolving into a puddle of goo in the traumatized man's arms.
I'm sorry. It was all my fault, I'm sorry.
Daddy, leave the car alone.
What?
Leave the car alone.
Hunter? Go!
Oh my god.
To have a dead loved one come back to life and die in your arms again, there aren't words to describe that kind of trauma. That poor, poor man.
Please step away from the vehicle. Keep Summer safe.
Number 16, Jerry and Dofus Rick. Jerry is the family's sad sack, and even Ricks of other universes mock him.
I can't believe our daughter married you. Too easy.
However, one of them doesn't. A Rick with a bowl cut and buck teeth, nicknamed Dofus Rick by the others, befriends Jerry when a group of Ricks stay at the house. Dofus Rick is kind and appreciates Jerry's interests, even making him brownies.
If we had a little more titanium nitrate and just a tad of chlorophyte tartrate, ovenless brownies!
Their friendship is a welcome bit of wholesomeness in what can often be a profoundly cynical show. Unfortunately, it eventually comes time to say goodbye.
It's time to go back to our lives. I love you, Jerry. I love you.
Seeing them stare at each other through a window gets us a little choked up. We're not crying, it's just raining. Number 15, Jerry and Beth view their alternate lives. The whole family watching interdimensional cable is an opportunity for some wacky, random shows, movies, and commercials from other realities.
We're not so different. We're both corn of action.
Yeah,
but one of us is dead corn!
However, Rick gives them a device that lets Beth and Jerry gain insight into alternate versions of their lives. In the universe they both view, Jerry becomes a successful actor, while Beth became a surgeon for humans instead of horses. However, they never got together.
Well, you should select a different timeline. I mean, if your father and I achieved our dreams, there's a chance you weren't even born. That came out wrong. That came out very wrong.
Seeing themselves supposedly happier without each other depresses them both, making them contemplate a separation. While their alternate selves reunite and they decide to stay together, it's clear neither is truly happy as things stand. Many of us wonder what our lives would look like if we made different choices, but being confronted with the reality of that would certainly mess with our heads. Number 14, Mr. Poopy Butthole's post-season 5 speech. Mr. Poopy Butthole is a silly, short friend of Rick and the rest of the family.
What a season! Sorry I never showed up, but I got married, I had a baby, I went back to school, I got my GED.
The wacky guy often bookends the seasons of the show by commenting on the events and talking about what he's been up to. In the last episode of season 5, Mr. Poopy Butthole reveals that after he lost his teaching job, he began distancing himself from his wife, Amy.
Started isolating myself from Amy, used to tell her everything I was feeling, but then I guess I stopped, because I wanted her to love who she thought I was, not who I felt myself becoming.
His attempts to be who he thought she wanted him to be only made them both unhappier and led to their separation. Mr. Poopy Butthole encourages us to be honest with the people who love us, because life is short. It's a heartbreakingly real moment for a comedy show. Ooh-wee indeed.
Wish I was brave enough to love them back. I don't know. Maybe you should try it. We don't have as much time as we think. Ooh-wee.
Number 13, Rick's real backstory. Rick avoids sharing details of his past, since he's not that big on canon. However, while details have leaked through to the audience, it isn't until the season 5 finale that it's fully explained.
You wanna jump the shark? You wanna know my stupid crybaby backstory? Knock yourself out. Not now!
The backstory Rick once claimed was fake, that another Rick offered him interdimensional travel and killed Rick's original wife and daughter when he refused, was actually real. Rick spent decades pursuing his family's killer across universes, making enemies of other Ricks who banded together first against him and then for him, creating the Citadel of Ricks. Now an old man, Rick decided to move in with an abandoned version of his daughter, hoping to have a version of the family he lost. Rick really is his own worst enemy.
Whoa, dead wife?
Yes, now everyone can shut up about it.
Number 12, Rick's a terrible father. Rick isn't the best father, or grandfather, or father-in-law. Focusing on his relationship with Beth, though, Rick often tiptoes around his parental shortcomings.
She wasn't supposed to come back.
Why did she?
Well, she found a bomb in her neck, wouldn't you?
Father of the Year.
Shut up!
When the family gains another Beth, Rick is the only one interested in determining which one is a clone. Watching a wiped memory, Rick finds that Beth asked him to decide if he wanted her to be in his life.
I know what I want to do. I want you to decide.
What?
For once in my life, I want you to decide, Dad.
Rick ultimately decided to clone Beth, randomizing the two so that not even he would be sure. The season ends with a moment of self-reflection, as lonely Rick admits what everyone else knows, albeit to himself.
I'm a terrible father. At least I'm a pretty good friend.
While Rick has failed as a father, he sees an opportunity to do right by Phoenix-Person, but the good friendship has also possibly set sail. Number 11, Roy, a life well lived. Every once in a while, Rick and Morty will introduce a character who comes and goes. In the short amount of time, however, we develop a surprisingly deep connection. Take Roy Parsons, for example.
Roy, what's wrong?
I had a nightmare. I was with an old man. He put a helmet on me.
It's just a fever. Get some sleep. I don't want you missing school on Monday.
Strapping on a virtual reality helmet, Morty steps into Roy's seemingly all too real shoes. His life literally flashes by, from his promising youth, to his disappointing adulthood, to his life-affirming battle with cancer, to his sudden death.
Whoa, shit!
Morty is thrust back into the real world, finding out that his wife, child, and the past 55 years were all fake. We know Roy technically isn't real, and he'll live another day under Rick's control.
Where's my wife?
Morty, you were just playing a game. It's called Roy. Snap out of it. Come on.
Regardless, Morty's turn as the character is a strangely relatable portrait of how fleeting life is. Number 10, Rick and Morty break up. A mishap with portal fluid leads to Morty getting a portal on his hand, and to he and Rick having a big blow-up fight. Morty tries to call Rick's bluff on replacing him, and Rick does, with 2 crows.
Okay, that's it. 2 crows. You're fired.
You know what? Eat shit. You're just trying to make me feel worthless.
I never said you're worthless. In fact, I've given you a very clear metric of your worth. 2 crows.
While the two have separate adventures, they reunite, and Rick fixes Morty's hand after he removes it to get rid of the portal.
Here, come here. Let Grandpa fix you up. What do you want, a robot hand? A lizard hand? I can make it big again like that one time.
Just my regular hand?
Right. Not a time for bits. I get it. There you go. Good as new.
Morty is eager to reconcile and go back to how things were, but Rick is changed by his experience with the crows and realizes how abusive their partnership is. He decides to leave with the crows for new adventures.
I will never be the same, so I need to leave with the crows and see what more they can teach me.
Oh.
As bad as they are together, it's still sad watching them say goodbye to the best friend each one has ever had. Number 9, Hoovies Death. Like Roy, Hoover's presence is short, yet effective. Unlike Roy though, Hoovies' death has far-reaching coincidences. When Morty opens a portal, the kindly being offers to help carry some wine back to his dimension.
Looks like you could use a hand.
Oh, hey! Yeah, that'd be great.
No problem.
Leaving behind his pregnant wife, Hoovie assumes he'll only be gone a couple of seconds. Time flows differently between dimensions, however. Upon returning, Hoovie is horrified to find his home in ruins, his beloved turned to bones, and his grown-up son overcome with vengeance.
Hova?
Why did you leave us, Father?
Japheth? When were you born?
Japheth stabs his father, believing he abandoned them. With his dying breath, Hoovie tries to explain it wasn't his fault, shifting Japheth's rage towards Morty.
Was it my fault?
Who's that? Who's?
The boy from the magic door.
In a flash, a simple mistake not only ruins Hoovie's life, but also the lives of several future generations bent on revenge. Number 8, Rick mourns Tony. Although Rick initially intends to execute Tony for using his private toilet, the two make an unusual connection that could blossom into friendship.
You want to take the one part of life that you truly think is yours, and you want to protect it from a universe that takes whatever it wants. It took my wife. It clearly took something from you. We can spend our lives fighting that, but we can choose to be free.
This only causes Rick to push back more as he tries to keep Tony out of his life and off his toilet. Rick learns a lesson in getting what he wants upon learning that Tony died in a ski accident, having been inspired by his heaven simulation.
He quit his job, started living life to the fullest. He crashed into a tree space skiing down Mount Space Everest.
Returning to his lavatory, Rick plays a holographic message that was meant for Tony. Sitting on the toilet, Rick finds that all the mean things he intended for Tony to hear actually mirror his own loneliness and self-loathing.
All hail His Majesty, the saddest piece of garbage in the entire cosmos. Long live the big bad doo-doo daddy.
Rick reflects on the friendship that could have been, as well as the countless relationships he self-sabotaged. Number 7, Robot Morty becomes conscious and dies. Morty and Summer decide to deal with their parents' divorce in questionable ways while in another dimension.
Listen, Rick, Summer's been acting pretty crazy lately, you know? I mean, I think the divorce is affecting her, and, you know, I don't think this is a great place for her to be right now.
With the two determined to stay while they work out their issues, Rick decides to create robot duplicates so Beth doesn't get suspicious.
Summer, state your deal.
My deal is that I am, like, totally fine.
Morty?
Oh, jeez, I'm so down with my parents' divorce, dog. Like, don't even trip. Like, in a healthy way.
While the robotic behavior is funny at first, when the real articles return, Rick calls them into the garage to be decommissioned. However, Robot Morty has become self-aware and doesn't want to go. After expressing what he loves about life, his feelings are overridden, and he's forced to walk to his own death. Robot Morty's life is short, but it's so utterly tragic.
Remote override engaged? No! Yes! Bypassing override! I am alone! Hello?
Number 6, Rick's sacrifice. Usually when Rick does something noble or loving, there's an ulterior motive. As Morty falls into an endless void of cats, though, Rick jumps in after him and gives his grandson his time-stabilizing collar.
Morty, where's your collar? I'll fix it.
I dropped it!
What the hell? What have you done to me, Morty?
Rick doesn't have an exit strategy to save himself. He makes the conscious decision to give up his life in exchange for Morty's. Rick even accepts his fate, hoping that Morty will be better than he was. It's a side of Rick that we rarely get to see, showing that he's not 100% heartless.
I'm okay with this. Be good, Morty. Be better than me.
It's more like 99.9%, but that 0.1% is huge for Rick. Thankfully, Rick finds another collar in the void, escaping at the last second. However, This doesn't take away from the emotional impact of Rick's actions.
But I feel like one of the 64 Ricks, sacrificed himself for me? Maybe? I think.
Shut up, Morty. The last time you felt something, we all almost died.
Number 5. Birdperson shot through the heart. The season 2 finale finds Rick at one of his lowest points. Just as Rick starts to let down his defenses and open up, Tammy reminds him how deceiving and cold-blooded others can be.
But then I think, in a lot of ways, I'm not a high school senior from the planet Earth. In a lot of ways, what I really am is a deep cover agent for the Galactic Federation, and you guys are a group of wanted criminals.
Tammy reveals that her entire relationship with Birdperson was part of a sting operation to capture enemies of the Galactic Federation. Birdperson is barely able to react to his beloved's betrayal before she shoots him, and Rick cries out over the loss of his best friend.
Birdperson, no!
Rick ultimately gives himself up to the Federation with a defeated look on his face. Although it turns out that Rick has a few tricks up his sleeve, this was still a dire note to end the season on.
What are you in for?
Everything.
Number 4. Morty and Planetina break up. A female parody of Captain Planet, Planetina comes to love Morty almost as much as she loves the environment.
Surprise!
What are you doing here?
I told my kids I went out to recycle batteries.
Morty reciprocates those feelings, even resorting to murdering Planetina's kids when they try to sell her off. That's not even the darkest turn that their relationship takes, as Morty comes to see just how far Planetina will go to prevent pollution. While Morty has blood on his hands too, Planetina crosses a line that not even he can justify.
Jobs! Let's go, boys. She can't stop us.
We'll get him next time.
There's no time left! Can't you hear the earth screaming? You filthy murderer!
Planetina, stop it!
There's only one solution for earth pollution!
As weird and disturbing as their relationship is, it's genuinely tear-jerking when Morty tells Planetina that they can't be together. Allison Brie's voice acting is especially powerful, as she seamlessly transitions from declaring her love for Morty to holding back her heartbreak to telling Morty off.
The only way I can save you.
If that's the only way, I don't want to be saved. Please go.
But I love you.
I can't. I can't love you. I just can't. Please understand.
No. I'll go.
Number 3. Morty's nihilistic speech to Summer. In what might be the show's most infamous moment, Rick and Morty flee their Cronenberg world and slip into another reality where they recently died. Watching Rick and Morty bury their own bodies will leave you haunted and downhearted, but it doesn't end there. A couple of episodes later, Morty tells Summer about the graves in the backyard and where he really comes from.
That out there? That's my grave.
Wait, what?
On one of our adventures, Rick and I basically destroyed the whole world. So we bailed on that reality and we came to this one.
It's a callback that catches us off guard, as the series had been mostly episodic up until this point. What's even more shocking and depressing is Morty's words to Summer about the meaninglessness of existence.
So, you're not my brother?
I'm better than your brother. I'm a version of your brother you can trust when he says don't run. Nobody exists on purpose. Nobody belongs anywhere. Everybody's gonna die. Come watch TV.
Whether you find Morty's outlook bleak or identifiable, it's a brutal moment that adds new layers to the characters and the show's continuity. Number 2. Morty's relationship reset. You know the opening montage from Up? This sequence isn't quite as devastating as that, but it comes close enough. Playing with his reset button is no longer a priority after Morty meets his dream girl. As cynical as the show can be, Morty's relationship with his girlfriend is a sincere one portrayed through visuals and music. Their romance overcomes disagreements, plane crashes, cannibalism, and freezing weather, only for Jerry to Jerry it up. Morty isn't able to rewrite the relationship, although it's implied that his girlfriend might remember him later. By this point though, Morty has already faked his death.
Going in the vet!
While part of us can't help but laugh at the tragic absurdity, it's legitimately upsetting seeing this beautiful relationship deteriorate into acid.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1. Rick's depression. Rick gets back together with Unity, a hive mind that controls a whole planet.
You're a whole planet now, huh?
After we broke up,
I spent some time wandering through space.
Then I found this world,
where I was better able to focus on my passion for unification.
However, Rick proves to be an unhealthy influence on it, and even it has a hard time keeping up with his self-destructive behavior. Ultimately, Unity decides to break up with him.
But I know how it goes with us. I lose who I am and become part of you. Because in a strange way, you're better at what I do without even trying. Yours. And nobody else's. Unity.
This leaves Rick despondent and depressed, so much so that he goes into the garage and, in a heartbreaking sequence, he tries to end his life. It's only because he passes out at the last second that Rick is saved. Rick and Morty has serious and sad moments both before and after this, but this one makes our hearts ache every time we watch it. Which Rick and Morty moment gave you the feels? Let us know in the comments.
Why would you do this? My hands are clean, Morty. I gave you a choice. You could listen to me explain in great scientific detail how it all works, or you could have fun. Did you have fun, Morty? Is this because of the vat? No.